right, again, here we are, man. Day 4. I'm really excited about this because if you've been on day 1 through 3, man, we've gone from principle, mindset, all the way into how do you get 100 PVA, and we're going to cover that tomorrow, all the way into how do you get a patient in a lifestyle and bringing their family right from day 1. That was yesterday. Now, a crucial part of this whole 5-day challenge and the whole goal, we want to automate our practice, then we got to be able to track stats. You got to be able to look exactly what your numbers are, know where your weaknesses are, know how to fix them, track where the money's coming from, and be able to get all that stuff done so you can run it from a distance. I mean, isn't that the whole theme of this 5-day challenge? I wonder why this isn't going on me. The whole 5-day challenge is to automate it so it runs like a machine, and you don't have to be there. That's the whole point. So I met Dr. Josiah. I met him at UAC, Ultimate Achievers Club, and he came up with a business software that's friggin' phenomenal, showed it to me. I'm like, elite people need to get this, because when I'm on coaching calls, I ask questions that you don't have the answers to. And you need these answers, one, if you're going to create a lifestyle culture and movement, and 2, you got to run this thing like a machine that runs without you. And Dr. Josiah, I'll just tell a little bit about it. He's been seeing 1,000 a week for years, makes $5 million a year for years, and that's because he knows how. He's got purpose, got principle, believes that retention is number one, chiropractic is a lifestyle, and it's one of the reasons we connected. And he knows how to track freaking everything and keep that 12-cylinder Ferrari or Lamborghini running, firing on all 12 cylinders. So on that note, Dr. Josiah, take it away. Let them know who you are. I'm going to make you a host. You can share your screen, and I know they're going to be pretty darn impressed with what you've created.
All right, awesome. Well, Dr. Fred, thank you for the introduction. Thanks for having me. It's an honor. Dr. Fred's obviously a legend in our profession, so thanks for having me tonight. But yeah, just a little bit about my
own mind.
That's right. Hey, that's the mind that counts.
So,
yeah, my practice, just real quick, my story is, really an undergrad. I guess that's maybe the best place to start is, I was pre-med. I was playing football in college. I ended up getting hurt, went to the local chiropractor, and he goes, you can be a doctor and an entrepreneur. And I said, what is an entrepreneur? My mom delivers newspapers. My dad waits tables. I don't even know what that word means. And he said, well, that's how you get ultimate freedom, is be an entrepreneur. And I said, well, heck, that sounds good. I don't know how you do that, but let's do it. And I always like more holistic approach anyway. So that's why I decided to go be a chiropractor. That was kind of the start. Then obviously learned about the principle, innate intelligence, everything, with power that made the body, and everything that we believe and know as chiropractors, obviously the best profession there is. But thankfully I had that mindset that I need to learn how to run a business simultaneously. And so while I was a student, I actually went to over 50 different offices while I was a student to try and figure out how to run a business as best as possible. And so 4 months after I graduated from Palmer, I already had over 400 prepaid appointments scheduled before my first day open. Over $1 million my first year in practice, over $2 million my second year. Third year open was COVID, and that was actually a great opportunity where things slowed down, and I was like, man, how do I get to the next level? How do I scale? I'd already surpassed most of the people in the profession, so I was like, I got to look outside the profession. What do top businesses in the world do? And so the next year, in 1,800 square feet, we did $5.5 million, and this year we're on pace for $6.6 million. And so what I realized over the years is that I'm very number oriented. And so I've had lots of doctors over the years that have reached out to me and say, hey, can you help me? Can I have a call with you? Can I ask you questions? I've had people offer me $10,000 for a 30-minute call. I'm like, hey, you don't need to pay me anything. Like, how can I help? And at first I always say is, well, tell me about your numbers. What's your revenue? What's your profit margin? How much are you spending on marketing? How much are you spending on team? What are you allocating to this? What's your LTV? I'm very numbers driven. And most of the time doctors know their numbers. Even if they knew their numbers, they said, well, is that good? Is that the right amount? Am I spending too much? Am I not spending enough? And so that's the whole premise. I started a company called Lucro, where we actually do your bookkeeping, but we deliver a report on a monthly basis. I'll drop a link in the chat. for everybody so you can see it here. We actually deliver a report on a monthly basis of how to scale your business and take it to the next level. And so I'm going to give you guys some tangible action steps right away from tonight's call, to understand better the data that you already have to scale your clinic, to the next level. So I put the website link that we have in the chat. I want to share my screen here. This is the platform that we're building here for bookkeeping. So most people for bookkeeping, it's loaded here, but most people for bookkeeper, it's months behind. It's only utilized to file taxes. You're running all your personal expenses you possibly can to it to make profit as low as possible to minimize taxes. It doesn't really have any utility value. But every other business in the world uses their P&L, their finances, all the time to know how their business is functioning, how they scale their business. And we as chiropractors, we're only using it one day a year to file taxes. The other 364 days a year, we need to know our data to make key financial strategic decisions to scale our revenue and optimize our profits. And so at Lucre, we've come up what we call the perfect P&L framework for the chiropractic profession. And so based on your monthly revenue, you should have certain percentages of your expenses dialed into these different buckets. And based on that understanding of those numbers and your ideal profit margins, then we can know where you're at on a monthly basis from our dashboard and say, hey, you're way overpaying on team, you need to focus on understanding your team capacity and your team management. I'm going to go through an exercise in a little bit that'll really hopefully blow your mind about how you can maximize the capacity of your team and automate your business to reach your full potential. And, maybe you're not paying enough on marketing. You can increase your marketing. You're getting phenomenal return on marketing. How do you maximize your marketing? Maybe you're overpaying for overheads. And so we've developed all sorts of resources and master classes. I did one with Dr. Fred not that long ago. I'm going to post a link to all the ones that we've done there in the chat as well. So all these different strategies, what are the top strategies to maximize your team, maximize your marketing, maximize your numbers. And so, what I really want to file in, like I said today, is help you guys understand how, if you know your numbers, what actions do you actually take with your data? Because you have all the data in the world, you can have all the KPIs at your fingertips, but if you don't know what to do with it, it doesn't matter. And so that's the whole entire premise. Is first and foremost, you need to have the data timely. And so we deliver your reports by the 10th of every single month, timely and accurately. And then we also have a whole categorization where we pull out business development. You want to run those fringe benefits, your vacation days, your clothes, your uniforms, all those things through the business so you can minimize profits, but like to minimize taxes, but that's only for that one day a year to file taxes. The other 364 days, you want to know your actual margins, your numbers, your percentages on all the different areas so that you can make the best decisions from a financial standpoint to scale your business. So here's an exercise I'd love to do with everybody and walk you through just an understanding of your potential capacity of what you have. So pretend I bring you 1,000 new patients over this weekend. 1,000 new patients I have lined up ready to walk in your front door. How many new patients could you see next week? What's the maximum number of new patients? Go ahead and let's put this in the chat so we can really get some interaction. If I brought you 1,000 new patients over the weekend, what's the maximum number of day ones or new patients, their first visit that you could process next week? Is it 10, 15, 20, 30, 50? If a day one, does a day one take you 30 minutes, 60 minutes? How long is it taking? Put that number in the chat or for sure write it down. All right, so Tim said 50. What else do we got? Lynn, Dalton, Miguel, what are your guys' numbers? Because I'm going to help you guys understand all of your capacities, where you're at, and then have a better frame of mind so that you know how to maximize your capacity, all based on data. Okay, so Tim can process 50 new patients a week. Miguel can process 10 new patients a week. Lynn, 20 day ones. All right, so whatever the number is, let's use, I'm going to use Lynn's as my example just to make it easy. All right, pull out your calculators on your phone. All right, and we're going to do this collectively. So whatever your number is. All right, so you're going to times it by 4.3. There's 4.3 weeks in a month. So for Lynn's example, 20 times 4.3 is 86 new patients in a month. That's his maximum capacity for. All right, 86 new patients in a month. Now, what is everybody's number of new patients they're averaging the last 6 months? Okay, I need your input, Lynn, because we're using you as the guinea pig on this one. So make sure you put your number in there for everyone else. What is your average number of new patients on a monthly basis you're averaging the last 6 months?
I'm just joining a new practice starting next week. So I know what the schedule is there now, and I know what we can do if we're humping it to process just day ones only, not the day twos next week. I don't know what he's been seeing a month on a regular basis. Sorry about that. And by the way, it's Steve on my wife's machine, my wife's computer.
Steve, all right, Steve.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, let's just say, for most people, it's 30, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 15, 25, Miguel, how about you? You put in 10. What's your number of you're averaging? 6. Okay, Tim, you put in 50. What's your number? Can you put your number in there, Tim? I lost him. All right, let's just say it's 30 in this scenario. You can ideally, 86 new patients a month, but the practice is bringing in 30. So whatever that number is for you, 30 divided by 86. So Miguel's, yours would be 10 times 4.3. That would be 43. 6 divided by 43. So 6 divided by 43 for you, Miguel, is 11.6%. 11.6% is currently the capacity that you are utilizing. So if it's 86, 20 divided by 86 in this scenario, then the capacity that's being utilized is 23%. All right. And so if you take your capacity up to 100% capacity, does your rent change? Does your internet bill change? Does your utility bill change? Does even your number one expense, your payroll, change? No. Almost all of your expenses, let's just say outside of marketing right now, none of your expenses would change at all. Whether you had 100% capacity, 50% capacity, 30% capacity. I did this with a doctor earlier today. His was 13%. The average that I get for most doctors is about 20 to 25% when I do this exercise with doctors, 20 to 25%. All right, let's just say it's high and it's 33%. Whatever your revenue is, that means you should be making 3 times the revenue of what it should be. Miguel, we just did yours, 6 divided by 43, 13.9%. 100 divided by round up to 14, you should be operating at 7 times your revenue right now. So whatever your revenue is currently, you should be bringing in 7 times the revenue that you're currently bringing in for the expenses that you're already paying for. You already have the expenses of a business making 7 times the revenue that you have in all other areas. Are you guys all following me? Just nod your head, give me a thumbs up if you're understanding how we're calculating. This is the capacity of what you could have, all right, that you're paying for. You have the team, you have the space, you have the capacity, you know yourself, you have the time, right? You have all those things, but you're only using 13%, 20%, 25%. I did this exercise with the doctor earlier, that was at $700,000, and he was only using 20% of it. So times 5, he could have had a $3.5 million practice based on the expenses that he was already having. Okay, so now we know we're not fulfilling our capacity from a financial numbers standpoint. We already have all the expenses. That's what everyone complains about. My payroll is too high, right? Well, that's because your payroll is too high is because you're not efficiently utilizing the payroll that you have. You're not maximizing your capacity, right? And so now we can dive into understanding, well, what are our profit margins? Does everybody know their profit margins? And if you could drop that in the chat, what is your percent of profits? Put those in the chat. Typically, I see most doctors, the lowest I ever talk to doctors, the lowest doctors ever tell me is typically around 20%. A lot of doctors tell me they're even up to 60%. I would say pretty average, most doctors tell me, is somewhere between 40 and 50%. And that's with marketing costs and with, fringe benefits, running your family vacations, clothes, all those different things through the office. So let's just say you're not running any of those through the office, all right, at all. And for most doctors, they typically have about a 50% profit margin, all right. And that example, 100 divided by 50 is 2. And so that whatever your profit percentage is, do 100 divided by that number. If it's, Miguel just put 40%. So Miguel, 100 divided by 40 would be 2.5. If it's 33% profit margin, 100 divided by 33 is 3. That is the number of return on ad spend from a marketing perspective that you need to break even. So Miguel, in your scenario, if you spend $1,000 on marketing, you bring in 2.5 times that, $2,500. That means you're going to have $1,000 in profit. All right. Therefore, you'll be break even. Does that make sense? If your profit margin is 50%, you spend $1,000, you make $2,000 in revenue, 50% profit margin, $1,000 in profit, $1,000 in ad spend, you've broken even. Everyone nod their head. Are you guys following with me on this standpoint? Okay, perfect. So now you know what you can spend and still be profitable, because so many people from a marketing number standpoint, they think, well, how much should I spend? Hey, doc, how much are you spending on marketing? How much is my friend spending on marketing? Should I start with this? None of that matters. It's how much can you spend based on understanding your numbers. And so for most doctors, they only need a 2 to maybe top end, maybe 4% ROI on their patients to generate revenue. Now, what's Dr. Fred huge on? Patient visit average, lifetime care, retention, right? So we're trying to bring in somebody and turn them into a lifetime person. So what is the lifetime value, LTV, of a tissue patient that you come in? If you guys know that, and I'll put it in the chat so we can have some examples. Someone signs up for care on you at your reported finding. What is the cost of that initial care plan? Maybe a next care plan, maybe a transition to wellness care, maybe they refer any family members. What's your typical lifetime value of a patient? The lowest end, what doctors ever talk to me typically about is $2,000 at the low end. A lot of doctors go over $10,000. All right. Let's just say from a hypothetical standpoint, on a conservative standpoint, you have like a $4,000 lifetime value of a patient. All right. Now that includes, like I said, if you bring someone in, they could refer other people, they could continue into other care, maybe you have other services or products in your office, that all could be added in. They could refer their friends, their family members, the value of that one person. Let's just say it's $4,000, right? And so if you have a 50% profit margin, that means you could technically spend $2,000 to bring this person in and not lose any money and break even. If you have a 40%, profit margin, right? $4,000, whatever your lifetime value is, times your profit margin, 40%, Miguel, you could spend $1,600 to bring someone in, still break even. So multiply your lifetime value times your profit margin, right? And you can have an understanding of how much you can spend to bring someone in that signs up for care and still break even. So anything less than that, you're turning a profit. Obviously, the furthest below that possible, you're making profit. You're making more and more profitably. But we want to maximize our capacity. So in this example, if you can see 86 new patients a month and you're only seeing 20, then to get maybe to 30 new patients a month, it might cost you a little bit more. To get to 40, to get to 50, 60, all the way to 86, it might cost you a little bit more for each level that you go to. Your ROI might go down, but as long as it's above our calculated number that we calculated earlier, it's still profit. Because what would you rather have, 100% of nothing or 20% of something, right? Because if you have an empty schedule, if you have nothing available, then you got 100% of nothing. And you already have all the expenses. Remember, this is the whole basis that we're talking about from a financial standpoint. You already have the expenses, the capacity you're already paying for. You're paying for your rent. Whether you're there or not, you're paying for your rent 24/7, 365, right? Whether you're there or not, utilities, internet, your EHR, your loans, none of those are going to change whether you have 100% capacity fill or 50%, capacity fill. So you have to have that understanding of knowing what your capacity is, and then knowing your numbers to, maximize, that capacity. muted here. There we go. I got it. All right. Everyone nod their head. Is everyone following me, on this exercise? Right. And so in this scenario, like I said, for, Miguel, let's just use you, for example, 10 new patients a month, times 4.3, that means you can bring in 43 new patients, a month. That's your capacity. If you have 40% profit margin, like calculated earlier, you can spend $1,600, all right, per new patient that signs up and still break even. Miguel, you could technically spend $68,800 a month on marketing and not lose money. I did this calculation with a guy earlier, and his number on a monthly basis, he said he could bring in 172 new patients a month. We did this calculation. He could have spent $462,000 a month on marketing and not lose money. This is the power of understanding your numbers, because we're doctors, right? We didn't go to school with getting our MBAs. So one of the biggest issues that I have talked with a lot of doctors about is they're concerned. Should I make this investment? Should I spend more to get this team member? Should I, buy this new piece of equipment? Should I pay a team member instead of $20 an hour? Should I pay him $24 an hour? Instead of hiring an associate, for $60,000, should I pay him $100,000? If you understand the math and the dynamics behind what we offer, it blows your mind, because we're in a service-based industry. All right. It doesn't cost us any extra to adjust 500 people or 1,000 people. Adjust 100 people or 1,000 people. We're not giving products, right? We have to have inventory, right? We literally have our hands or an instrument. There's no additional cost to deliver 50 adjustments or to deliver 1,000 adjustments. Like, what other business that you can deliver 20 times the product with no additional cost? Okay. Now think about this on another inverse way. If you understand your profit margin, if you increase the price of your fee by your profit margin, you double your profit. Okay, so let me give a real world example of that. Let's use Miguel's again as another example. 40% profit margin. Let's just say, Miguel, right now you charge $50 a visit. Okay, 50 times 0.4 is $20. If you were to increase your price of your adjustment from $50 to $20, from $50 to $70 by $20 by your profit margin, you would literally double the profitability of your business. If someone has a 20% profit margin in this example, they only increase their adjustment from $50 to $60, they would double the profitability of their business. Okay, so this is the power of understanding your data. And so you have to know your data, so then you can drill that down to these deeper levels of marketing, of team analysis, right? Because let's think about it from a team perspective. Right, I talk to people all the time. Like, I can't find good quality people. They're not applying. They're not sticking. I don't have good team members. Well, how much are you paying your team? $16, $18 an hour. That seems like a lot. Obviously, 5 years ago, I was starting people off at like $9 an hour. Right, it's blown up obviously with COVID. But let's do some basic math on it. Like, let's say it's $16 an hour. You could hire someone that maybe not be very good, but for $20 an hour, maybe you can get an A player. $16 an hour is a C player. $4 more an hour is about $8,000 more a year. Your lifetime value is $4,000. Do you not think going from a C player to an A player isn't going to net result over the course of an entire year on 2 more people either signing up or staying under care? No, it's not going to result in 2 people. It's going to result in 50 people. It's going to result in exponentially higher amounts of return on your investment. So that's one of the biggest concepts we talk about, at Lucro, is viewing your team as a income producing asset, not a bank draining liability. HR literally stands for human resources. All right. Humans are our number one resource. We are in a service industry. Humans are the number one resource. The number one bottleneck you're ever going to have, you don't have enough people, or more likely, you don't have good enough people. And that's going to be the number one bottleneck to your growth, to your scalability, to getting to the next level, to driving your revenue and profit, is having the right people in the right seats on your team. So you have to invest in your team, finding the right people, training your team, getting to elite boot camps, one coming up in August in Atlanta. You guys all need to be there if you're not already signed up for that. I know Dr. Fred can give you guys more information, maybe drop a link, if there's any spots left to sign up for that. But we have to view team as an investment, as an asset, not as a liability. All right, so I touched on marketing. I gave some real tangible ways to calculate and really think differently on marketing, because, if you invest in the stock market $1,000 and at the end of the year it turns into $1,500, and you did that every single year, year after year, you would be literally a better investor than Warren Buffett. But we put $1,000 into marketing, and if it only brings us $1,500, we think it's awful. We think it's terrible. There's no better investment than your business. Stop getting shiny object syndrome. Stop trying to figure out what other investments are out there that may or may not work. The number one thing with the lowest risk is investing in your business, because you control it and you have control of the outcome of ensuring that it turns out as lucrative as possible. All right. And so investing back in your business is the smartest decision you can possibly make, with the lowest risk, with the highest possible return. What other thing out there? Typically, the thing that the highest possible return also has the highest risk. You're investing in your business has the highest possible return. And if you know your numbers, again, if you understand your numbers, it also has the lowest risk. What investment in the world does that, right? It's either one or the other. It's a safe bet, and it's barely going to return anything. You're putting your money in the bank and you get 0.001% interest on your savings account, right? Or you put it in some volatile stock, that may go to the moon, or you may lose all your money. But your business, chiropractic business model, is phenomenal. Okay. You can, by knowing your numbers, not only minimize risks, but it has the highest potential of upside than any investment you're ever going to have. And so you have to have that mindset of investing back into your business. Now, the third piece I want to just touch on real briefly is
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. I mean, I've done stuff, and it seems like in my life, whenever I got out of my purpose, it didn't expand like I wanted it to. It's like what you're saying, Josiah. It's so true, man. Invest in your purpose, invest in yourself, invest in your business. And there's nothing safer. There's nothing better. That's why you guys are an elite. You can see why I brought Josiah in here. But people, they do things because they want to make money. And maybe there's some great things out there, and I'm not against it. But I've also found spiritually, if it's not within your purpose, it becomes a distraction. And if another investment, people get into real estate and all that, and that's all great too, that's another thing. But if it pulls you away from what matters most, I've seen a lot of people fail at things outside because they get distracted, and they're doing it for the wrong reason. So that's my input.
Absolutely. You got to have that. Your purpose is your foundation. If you don't got a solid foundation, just like it talks about in the Bible, you're building your house on sand, you're not going to get anywhere, let alone the second story. So last topic I really want to talk about tonight is just the framework around structure. And to me, structure is not something that's talked about typically in the chiropractic profession. I think it's actually one of the biggest missing links in the chiropractic profession as a whole. You guys are probably like, structure, what is this guy even talking about? In chiropractic profession, what we talk about a lot is processes. Day 1, day 2, table talk, report of findings, doctor's reports, okay, how you process things, what are your SOPs? That is processes, that's SOPs. Structure are the rhythms of feedback loop to grow and scale your business to the next level. All right, structure is the understanding of who's accountable for what in your business to drive every single KPI, key performance indicator forward, and the rhythms at which you review those KPIs and make corrections. Okay. The best companies in the world that scale the fastest are typically technology companies, right? You guys all, technology companies go from nothing to seemingly billion-dollar companies, overnight. And so this is actually where I learned structure from. In the tech world, they have a whole concept called the agile methodology. And what it is they work on what's called 2-week sprints. And so literally every 2 weeks in the tech industry, they reevaluate their entire business and say, what is the number one thing that we need to pivot to and change in the next 2 weeks that's going to have the single largest impact on scaling our business and taking it to the next level? They could throw anything out the window. What is the next most important thing? They don't get stuck in saying this is how it's always been done. They don't get stuck in this is what we should do, or this is a direction, or we've invested this much time and we got to just keep going and hope it works. Every 2 weeks, they reevaluate their entire business and say, what's working, what's not working, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are our opportunities, what are our challenges, and what is the number one bottleneck or priority that we need to focus on in the next 2 weeks is going to have the biggest impact on our business. So you need to establish rhythms of feedback loops to scale your business. First of all, you need to understand each of the people and where they sit and what they're responsible for. So if you don't already have it, you foremost, you need to have core values for your business. And you're like, core values? This guy was talking all about numbers. And I was talking about core values. Core values is how you know you have the right people in your business. First, before you can figure out what the right seat is, you need to figure out, is there actually a seat for these people on my bus? And that is alignment with core values. They have to have alignment with your core values first and foremost before you ever want to find a seat for them in the first place. If you don't have core values, my clinic's name is Vero, V-E-R-O, verohealthcenter.com. You can go to my website, look at my core values if you want to, look up core values, but you need to establish those so you know who you want to let on your bus in the first place. Then you need to have the structure of understanding each position within your business. What are the key performance indicators that they're responsible for that prove that they are doing their job properly? You need to know the primary purpose of every position within your company and the primary skills that are necessary to fulfill that purpose at the highest level so that you can hire the right people, right? So if it's a back office person, they should be more detail focused, probably introverted, good at numbers. If they're front desk, they're going to be more bubbly, outgoing. They're going to be great at questions, objections, quick on their feet, great at multitasking, right? You need to know the primary skills that you need for every position. And then what is their primary purpose? If this person is operating at the highest level, what is the subjective outcomes that are going to happen, whether it be the experience of the patient, right? How someone feels, right? The quality of care that is delivered. And then what are the actual black and white objective measurables that person can deliver on? Is it new patient signups? Is it show up rates? Is it sign up rates? Is it number of new patients? Is it referrals? Is it reviews? What are the actual ways that this person can be tracked? Number of adjustments, number of revenue produced, what are all the different things depending on the position? Because the biggest problem I see in our profession is doctors that have their own practice. They're the owner, they're the head doctor, they're the head of sales, they're the head of marketing, they're the head of clinical, they're the head of operations, they're the head of finance, they're the head of technology, they're the head janitor, they're the head of paying bills. You're wearing every single hat in your business and you're wondering why you're not successful. You're given a little bit to everything. You're not going deep into what actually really matters. And so you're not able to also delegate because you're like, no one else can do this as well as me. You're exactly right. Either you don't have good enough people, like about earlier, or you don't have enough people, or you don't have, maybe you don't have documentation of your processes, right? Or you don't have accountability to hold them accountable to what they're actually doing. And so that kind of goes to the part that I really started with structure is rhythms. What are your daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual rhythms where you're continually looking at these metrics to say, this is working, this is not working, this needs to change, let's keep doing what we're doing. One of the biggest concepts I talk about in my business is, this is where we're heading. If we get any more than 5% degrees offline, we're too far off. We need to correct it at 1, 2, 3 degrees. But so many of you guys, so many people in our profession, 30, 40, 50, 90 degrees off, 6 months down the road going 90 degrees off, by the time we figure out something's wrong, and then it takes another 6 months to get back to where we started, we go a whole year and nothing's changed. And we're frustrated. And we feel like we've made all these pivots. Well, yeah, you made pivots in the wrong direction. You didn't realize because you weren't monitoring your data. So there's an incredible stat that I love that says if you improve 1% every single day, you're 37 times better at the end of a year. 1% better every single day. So that's really, like I said, the whole premise, behind Lucro is that you already have to pay for bookkeeping. You have to file taxes. You have to follow the law. So, you know, you already are paying for that, you know, but you don't know anything else what to do with the data. So our whole goal is to provide the service at the same or less cost than every regular bookkeeper that's doing your books, a sushi restaurant, a construction company, and a nail salon, but actually tell you what to do with the data. Now we have the data. Here's tangible action steps that you should implement as a result of the knowledge of the data to maximize your revenue and profitability. So hopefully that was a lot of value for you guys, and I'd love to answer any questions. You know, if you guys have any questions, you know, either put them in the chat or, you know, unmute yourself. But, you know, I'm very transparent. I'm an open, you know, open book. You know, not only, you know, am I going to make over $6.5 million this year, I'm going to pay $0 in taxes on it as well. So if that sounds cool, you know, those are all things that we help you with.
Cool. At this point, we put a link on how to contact you. Josiah is going to be at the August boot camp coming up. He's going to be speaking Friday night, and he'll be there for the weekend, so you guys can hang out. And great dude, as you can see, everybody on here needs this. So if you're listening to the recording, there's the link. Give Josiah a call. I don't know very many chiropractors that run their clinic like this. I would say almost you're in the single digits, probably at best, and it's probably under 5. It's probably, I know I didn't run my clinic to that detail. You know, so anyway, give him a call, take that link down. He'll be in August. And thanks so much for sharing what you did, man. I mean, you turned running a clinic, this part of the clinic, into a science. And you can see, if you guys want to automate, you have to do this. This is an absolute must. And that's why he's on here. So I'm thrilled that you're with us, that you're part of this culture. Josiah, thanks so much for sharing tonight. And I know you're going to get some phone calls.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. It was great talking to you guys, and hopefully I provide you some value that you can take it action steps with on. You know, immediately I'm a big proponent of stop taking notes, start writing down action steps.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. All right, you guys have a great day. Day 5's tomorrow. Get that link down, copy it, paste it, and give Josiah a call ASAP. Tomorrow would be a good day. He's on East Coast, so not tonight, but tomorrow would be a great day. Take action. Don't wait. Implement. You guys know, man. If you hesitate, then it gets put off, and that's not good. So all right. Love you guys. Peace. Thanks, Josiah.
Thanks, Josiah.
Thanks, buddy.
That was
You're
awesome.
welcome.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
these guys will be calling you. All right. Take care. I'll talk to you soon, Josiah. See you guys.
All right, see you guys.
All right. Share this link, please. Thanks. Bye.